Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Internet Traffic Kings. I'm the Big Faboo, John Fondy, and we're broadcasting from the studio at UNLV right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And yep, we kind of got a little bit of a jump start here in Nevada, kind of chilled out a little bit now, and now we're kind of at the hands of the governor to find out what we're going to do and when we're going to get started back up again and all that stuff. But Las Vegas is open, and there's always a place for you here. We'll leave the key under the mat. And so anyway, this podcast it's non-ad supported, so it's a generous gift from our executive producer Kevin DiVincenzi. He's the Click Father, and you can see the show on internettraffickings.com or go to Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating. That's going to help us out a lot, if you will. And we're going to give you some great information, and you'll enjoy the show. We're also on Spotify as well as our YouTube channel. We'll talk more about that as well, which is just getting raving reviews, and a lot of people are going to the channel, so check it out. There's also past issues on there, and the who's who of whodom are on those shows as well, and you're going to want to check those out and bring yourself up to speed as well. And if you've got questions that you'd like us to answer or special guests that you like, go ahead and drop us a line at internettraffickings.com, and we'll try to accommodate those wishes as well. And it gives me great pleasure right now to introduce our executive producer. He's the Click Father. He's Kevin DiVincenzi. Kevin, welcome.
Hey, John. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing awesome, man. I'm doing awesome.
You got my name right the second time, so that's good. That's good news. First time you sounded like the horse announcer the last time we raced, right? Kevin DiVincenzi.
That's right. And
so you were talking about Vegas. So I did see that the governor issued a new mandate on face masks again. So what changes have you seen?
Well, actually, he is absolutely right. It's like you can't go anywhere without a face mask. And in fact, even here on the campus of UNLV, now it's not a law. It's one of those things, that they're just and it's a good thing. We should be doing it anyway. It's
right.
And so yeah, we wear face masks here at UNLV, where it's mandatory here at UNLV. But we don't even know when we're going to open back up again since this new mandate. But restaurants now are down to 50% capacity.
Oh, wow.
No live shows yet are opening up. There's some casinos. Do you remember the Sahara Hotel?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it was SLS, and now it's back to Sahara Hotel.
Right.
I was in there. They don't have any plastic. They don't have. They got face masks on, but you can basically just sit down and gamble. And they've got every other chair is kind of what the mandate is and stuff like that. So
interesting.
But you mentioned before how tough it's going to be on restaurants, with limited capacity, and there are people. I mean, there are people waiting at the turnstile for one person out of Vegas, another person coming in. That's how much people want to be here as well. So,
wow.
And I was just in California. It was great seeing you as well. When we were down there as well, and they're taking a beating there as well. So,
yeah, no, and I think they're gonna potentially. I know they shut down the beaches for the holiday.
Yeah.
And they're going to potentially stop all non-essential travel yet again. So,
yeah, you should probably rent out your deck.
Yeah, there you go. Right, the deck and the driveway for RV parking.
That's
absolutely.
Right. That's right. So anyway,
we'll do both.
We did the cool thing about this that we don't mention enough is that if this information that we basically give out, if somebody came to you, I mean, you could easily charge them $1,000 an hour for your consultation and stuff. And so we give them the experts in this industry. We give them legal, I guess we can't say legal advice, but legal assistance, if you will, with Bennett Kelly every week that he's here. And you're giving this away for free. You're not advertising.
We're just
paying you. You're
looking to help the industry.
And the cool thing about it is people could just give you a call and you'll chat with them about how to get started, any challenges that they've had, and you really you really got your finger on the pulse of this whole internet marketing thing. But you've changed, you evolved, from
Yep.
I met you, 15, 20 years ago, and you've been making some changes. Why did you make those changes?
Well, are you talking about the recent ones in light of COVID, or?
Well, kind of
I,
generally, as you
well,
want.
generally, I say evolve or die, John. So you have to continually change your business model and change to what the market is. And I always want to be ahead of the curve instead of on the downward of the curve. So as long as you're ahead of the curve, you're going to do well. So it's just finding the right opportunities, and it's constantly changing. Trends are changing. Actually, if you go to Google Trends, it's actually very interesting to look at, and just even look day over day, month over month, what's trending now, besides your current affairs, just everything else as far as products, celebrities, different things.
Yeah.
It constantly changes. Things get hot, and things, it's like, things re-show themselves,
And speaking of things getting hot, I'm about to lay it on you again one more time. I've got some questions here that people have sent in, and so we're going to put you in the hot seat and kind of see what you come up with. And really, we talk about influencers, and we have influencers on our shows as well. And you're kind of the influencer in the shadows, if you will. And so people look up to you for your information. So we're going to test that information here, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Okay. And before we do that, show us that great shirt that you've got on right now.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
How's that?
Isn't that great? Limited edition internet traffic.
Limited edition. Yeah, we'll start giving some of them out
so
eventually, once we can all get together in person.
Yeah, or once we can afford them, we'll give them out.
Right.
So anyway, hey, this question here comes from Jim, and Jim's from Oklahoma City. And the cool thing about that is we get questions from all over the world that they come in. We've got questions from Ireland and Morocco and all kinds of different places. So this is from Jim from Oklahoma City, which is kind of a foreign country, if you will, in some cases. So Jim says he's got a small moving company. What's his best way to get more customers? Good question.
Google. Google Maps has a really good program where you can get the local search results, but also just Google listings, moving companies near me, and anything that's at the zip code you're looking for. And I would do a campaign that has a phone number on it. So I wouldn't specifically do a call campaign. I would do one that actually has the ad copy along with a phone number. We've found a lot more success doing that than running just paper call or call only options. So that would be the easiest. You can control the hours you want to run your ad. You can control how much you want to spend, obviously, the hours, the days of the week, etc. So that's what I would do. The second thing I would do is make sure I have an overflow, meaning that if I can't pick up the phone and none of my associates can pick up the phone, that I have an answering service or somebody that can pick it up. Because what does tend to happen with Google is it sends traffic in tranches, where you may get 5 calls all at once and then no calls for the next hour. So you want to be prepared for that so those calls aren't dropping. So I would definitely have a bit of a contingency plan there, whether it goes to a grasshopper number, like a voicemail number or something, but just so those calls are picked up and you can then follow up with them.
All right. Well, that sounds awesome. Can you take one more?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So this comes from Neil, and Neil's from Albuquerque. So I guess we're getting the southern states here.
Albuquerque.
And it says, I'm thinking about starting an online business with a few of my friends. What are your thoughts on partnerships? Oh, that's a good question.
That is a good question. I've been involved in a lot of JVs over the 24 years I've been doing this. I think that the biggest thing to consider is who's going to do what in the partnership. I mean, it's great to work with your friends. I mean, most of the people that I work with are my friends as well. Like even you, John. I mean, I know you don't consider me a friend, but I consider you one. But there's still that level of professionality that you have to maintain. When it's business, right? So we can have the fun hat and then we can have the business hat. I think a lot of what happens and a lot of friendships get ruined over business because the expectations aren't laid out from the beginning. So if you lay your expectations out from the beginning, that would be the first thing. And understand it's not like, hey, I have this new business idea, everybody come along for the ride. Meaning like you include people. It's, John, you want to be a part of this business? what value you're going to add and what are you going to be responsible for. Jim, do you want to be a part of this business? What value? And really understand the roles and see who you need in the company, because otherwise you'll start a company with 10 of your friends and then see there's actually only 2 or 3 of your friends that are actually working. Then the resentment sets in, and then you have a legal battle, et cetera, could ensue. So I'd be really careful on setting expectations first. They say people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. So I'd spend more time understanding everybody's capabilities, what they can do, and how it can work. That would be, as far as the structure. There's so many structures. I'd ask a tax advisor, as far as depending on if you're going to do a C Corp, an LLC, a limited partnership. There's so many structures out there. It's really impossible without understanding what type of business it is, what type of write-offs they're going to need, et cetera. It's too broad of a question for me to give a very intelligent answer on from the formation standpoint.
Well, and I think you're right. And one of the things that I look at is don't have 5 people that all are floor sweepers. Get a floor sweeper, get a carpenter, get a get a buyer, get people that do different things, and then everybody they're an expert in the arena that they do in. And then I always write stuff down on a piece of paper, kind of an MOU type thing. Yep. Not so much as a contract, but then now we've got a piece of paper we could look at to remind us of what we promised or what our capability was as well. And then kind of move into the more formal structure, if you will, and find out who's gonna go by the wayside, who's gonna stick with you, who's gonna be a flake, and who's going to contribute.
Right. Well, exactly. So an MOU, memorandum of understanding, basically would just outline. So I'd start building that first, along with your potential partners. And at that point, some of your potential partners may already self-select themselves out, meaning that you're not going to see that there's really a lot of value that they can add. But it's really just planning. And I've had a lot of partnerships go really, really well, and I've had some go not so well. So it's planning and understanding. And the last thing I'll say is, when you partner with somebody, you're basically getting into bed with that person. You're a part of their liabilities, what they do. So you do have to be selective about who you partner with. A case in point, let's say you and I did a partnership, John, with, all your prior felonies. If we went to go apply for a bank loan, your felonies would pop up and then we get declined. Even though I'm squeaky clean, we get declined because of you. So that's a joke, but the reality is that's the type of stuff that you have to worry about, is knowing the past. I actually had a deal that I almost got into where then the person told me that they had a felony, the CEO, and I had to walk away from it because it doesn't work then. I know we're going to hit a lot of hurdles along the way. So that's the advice I have.
Well, good advice. And you never know, you got to be ready on the hot seat, because I may be taking these questions from people. Well, as always, we've got segments to our show, and each of the segments gets more exciting than ever. And of course, nothing can get more exciting than having the big dog, Bennett Kelly, on the show. And you can reach him at internetlawcenter.net, and he'll consult with you as well. Big dog, how are you, man?
Good to see you guys. Happy Canada Day today, July 1st. We're taping on is Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day.
Their equivalent of 4th of July.
Well,
which I think they might have a better celebration than us, by the way things look now, huh?
Yeah.
Actually, the government did something interesting. They circulated ways that you can celebrate virtually. They have a link for how to do a kind of a VR fireworks display.
Oh, interesting.
And so
I don't know about you guys, but man, they're blowing fireworks off every night here in Las Vegas as well.
Yeah, me too. In Malibu, they do them, and they do them late at night. So of course, when my 6-year-old Gianna is sleeping, she wakes up screaming, and even my 24-year-old daughter, because they do them right at the beach, so they're right over my house, so they'll come up and do really loud.
Yeah, we have a bomber in our neighborhood, and like as you said, they do it late at night, which then sets off the car alarms, which then sets off all the dogs and
right.
So, but anyway, since as we're kind of getting into the summer, it looks like things are still going to be on really almost full lockdown, Bennett. And
Yeah.
you've been following some laws that are due to kick in place here this month. And what's the update on those?
So it is now July 1st, which means that the state of California Attorney General is allowed to begin enforcement actions on California's privacy law. And so this was the date. They just issued their final regs just about 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, it is somewhat ridiculous that they're going to start enforcing an action whose regs have only been finalized for a couple of weeks. But the one hiccup for the Attorney General is if he comes after you, John, and I think he did. We talked about him. He's calling you. No, just kidding. But what he can do is give you a notice, and you have 30 days to comply. And only then, if you fail to comply, can he really go after you for anything significant, unless there's a data breach. That's the only exception. Now, the other thing we talked about, that the whole privacy law came about as a result of Alistair McTaggart wanting to put on a ballot initiative on privacy on the ballot. Mm-hmm. And he had enough signatures to get it done, and then they reached a compromise with the legislature, and this is what we have. Well, he is now qualified, basically California Consumer Privacy Act version 2 on the ballot, and it's been confirmed he qualified. So I don't know whether that means we're going to have another round of negotiations with the legislature before time expires, or whether this is, we're actually going to, have California voters decide on, complex issues of privacy based on 30-second commercials.
And just in layman's terms, in 30 seconds or less, Bennett, can you break down exactly what the CCPA is?
Sure. So the California Consumer Privacy Act is kind of a comprehensive privacy act, that kind of not as extreme as the European GDPR, but it requires you to make certain disclosures. In addition, give people the ability to opt out of selling their information, to find out what information about them you share, things of that nature. So that's the main thrust of it. And the threshold is you have to have over so much in revenue, 5 million in revenue, and that's how.
And that's 5 million in revenue. I think I asked this previously.
Yeah.
That's 5 million in revenue for your company, not just in revenue generated from the state of California. Is that correct?
Right. And let me double check that number. But yeah, there's 3 ways it can be triggered. One is based on the number of data points you sell or share, revenue, and so, so July 1 is now able to be enforced. There's been a lot of people unhappy about it just because they haven't really finalized the regs just until recently.
Right.
Well, that's great. Now, I'm in Nevada, so can I be in jeopardy at all for being in Nevada?
I mean, so do you use data of California consumers? And
so California can enforce a non-California company, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as long as you're doing, basically, that's the problem. That's the depending on perspective, but that's one of the issues for California, is that it regulates the U.S. by doing this. Now, Nevada actually has a law that requires you to give the opportunity to opt out, and it's not as stringent as California's, but they have a law as well that was only recently.
Oh, really? Do you know what that's called?
I don't know the name. It was just a statutory provision, and it allows consumers the ability to opt out of having their identities, sold to third parties.
So, from a company or an advertiser's end, they need to maintain a database of their consumers that the consumer can then search and potentially opt to remove their information from that database. Is that pretty much the gist of it?
I think so. Going forward, the European GDPR, a lot of it involves data mapping, and that you understand, where you got data and who it's been shared with,
right?
And that's where we're going here. Be a good practice to start mapping your data, where you got it from, and who it's shared with, because that type of information may be requested.
Now, in one of our upcoming shows, we're going to talk about lead generation. We talk about that a lot. So if you generate these leads, are you susceptible, or could you get in trouble from generating these leads and using them?
No, and it's not so much generating leads are fine. It's just you have to have certain privacy practices. If you're subject to the act, you need to disclose what your privacy practices are. You need to disclose them truthfully and accurately, and then you allow consumers the ability to opt out of sharing their information.
When you say disclose, is it disclosed on your privacy statement, or
Exactly.
does it have to be? It doesn't have to be front and center, because I've seen a lot. It doesn't.
No, but
Okay.
California, the California law does have a thing where you have to have some statement on the homepage saying, a link for don't sell my information.
Okay, so if you had a link toward the bottom of your page, don't sell my information, and then it links out to something where they can search.
Yeah, they can see. That's fine.
That's fine. Okay, because I've seen a lot of companies do very prominent, especially now spending a lot of time here in California, where they just pop up. So it takes a quarter of the page, and from a marketing perspective,
that's partly responsible in response to the European statement and requiring a disclosure about cookies. That's really what that's about.
Got it. So that's only GDPR. So that really shouldn't show to me in California, technically, if they were doing it right.
Well, then,
they're just being, I think it's just it's their choice from a programming perspective. But yeah,
sure, okay.
And so,
and I can provide a link that you can include show notes that has a summary of the California law.
Great, that'd be awesome.
So what else is coming up that we kind of see around the horizon? Look into that crystal ball a little bit, and give us a quick 2 or 3 minute idea of what maybe is going to come up on some of our future shows.
So on our future shows, we talked a little bit about a decision involving LinkedIn and a company called HighQ. And HighQ was scraping data from the LinkedIn site to then contact and market for job listings. And LinkedIn was threatening to block them. And so HighQ went to court and sued and actually won. And won the Ninth Circuit. And basically what the issue here was, it's still ambiguous whether you can do data scraping, because technically there's an argument that it can be trespass. The problem with a simple statute like trespass is, there's no automatic attorney's fees, and how do you prove damages? That's tough, and so people don't make that claim. But they do try to make claims under federal or state computer crimes laws, which have attorney's fees provisions and have civil penalties. So then that makes it easier. And the California for LinkedIn, the case was that it didn't qualify as under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, and right now pending is a petition for the Supreme Court to review that decision. And
awesome.
HighQ's opposition is due in a couple of weeks, and this could be argued before the Supreme Court next term.
So are the courts open right now, Bennett?
Yes, I've argued 2 motions in the last week, and I mean we're doing it by phone.
Oh, you're doing it by phone. Got
and I do have an in-person hearing in court in 10 days, but most of it's by. And
do you think that's going to affect having to wear a mask? Do you think that's going to affect your performance in a sense of the judge, or if it's a jury, not being able to see your facial expressions and not being able to convey a message?
I testified in court in a proceeding, and you didn't have to wear a mask because the witness stand was far enough away from the judge, which was far enough away. And so that wasn't required.
Sure.
And so that depends. And what the LA court system, and may even be statewide in California, they're implementing a system that actually will ultimately allow video conferencing.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know if you saw some of the stories, but there have been some abuses of lawyers and video conferencing with courts. One guy was actually dialing in his bed in his pajamas, And
Kind of like you do. That's right.
Yeah, pretty
Exactly.
much. I mean, if Bennett stands up right now, we're just going to see his boxers. We know. Yeah.
and the slippers.
And the
Speaking of
slippers. Yes.
boxers, if you guys want to get in touch with Bennett, you can get in touch with him at internetlawcenter.net. And anyway, the big dog's with us, staying on the porch, wearing his mask. Bennett Kelly, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bennett.
And I'll tell you, the guests just seem to get better and better as we go along. And then our next guest is, of course, no exception to that. He happens to have won an Affy Award at the Virtual Digital Tradeshow, and he's with us today to talk all about it, shine up that Affy a little bit, and talk about his company. Gives me good pleasure to welcome Matt Frary. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, this is me shining the virtual Affy. Thank you
There
for
you
having
go.
me on the show.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
great. Well, you have several companies. Let's count them down here.
Here,
Tell us
I'll
a
just
little-
hand you that one.
There's,
There you go.
and basically, Kevin gets to hold on to it for this week, then he'll pass it on.
That's right. Yep.
Then we'll pass it on to me.
Group-
'cause
group
I
share.
got one as well. And so we'll kind of group share it and stuff like that. So tell us about your companies and what you're doing. And you've, since the last time we spoke, you've got a whole heck of great stuff going on. Share with us if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. It goes way back, guys. I started 21 years ago doing affiliate marketing. I built a little network called ROI Rocket a long time ago. And 10 years ago, I started Smarter Chaos. So that's where the journey I'm on right now is building Smarter Chaos, which is a digital customer acquisition agency. And while I was doing that, I had nothing else to do. So I started She Is Media, Deal Taker, Elite Media Partners, and a host of other things. But those are the four main ones that I'm currently working on right now. They all fall in the digital marketing space, all based on customer acquisition. They all have different business models. One is an agency, one is a network, one is actually an affiliate, and one is an affiliate rep agency that works for the affiliate. So I got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's you're in the influencer space as well, which is really kind of coming on like a storm right now. Did you plan on that, or did you just back into that?
You know, we used to call influencers affiliates back in the day, and then and that sort of tripped into bloggers, right? We changed from calling it affiliate networks to blogger networks, and then most recently we started calling it influencer networks. I guess I tripped into it from the sense that I tripped over the word and we sort of adopted it. You have to treat influencers differently. So I'm not saying they're the same thing. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is that what we collectively have all been good at is capitalizing on the new mediums that are available out there. So as Instagram came on strong or Twitch is happening, people are capitalizing on those medias. And guess what? We're finding a way to pay for performance on that media, and it happens to be calling it influencer.
Right.
So Kevin, you're around that space as well too. What's your comments on that?
I mean, I've been working with a couple of key influencers. Obviously, the big jackpot that we had on the show, I think it was show 2.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
And
congratulations to him for passing 750,000 followers on YouTube, man.
250,000, but yeah, we'll say.
Oh, I thought it was 750. I misread the screen.
Yeah, no, 250, but still, that's a really big accomplishment, and he's going to celebrate that by gambling $250,000 in Vegas on $5,000 spin slot machine. Yeah, what I've learned, not just with him, but we've got Scott Reich, one of our attorneys, that he's got crimetalksearch.com. And a Crime Talk YouTube channel where he gets about 1,000 live views per day, and then he cycles through about 9,000 to 10,000 a day. What I've learned is it's got to be personalized, because the fans are actual fans of that brand and of that person. So if you personalize your offers to that fan base, you're going to see a much higher success rate. So we've seen anywhere from 6 to 10 times the response rate on a general offer by adding the influencer's face to it and just having them mention it live during their broadcast and get involved with the product.
Absolutely. Everybody knows that we buy things word of mouth, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
I mean, this podcast here, you know, you guys mentioned something, people go check it out. You guys are influencers, right? So
absolutely. And I think going back to the blogger comment, Matt, we're using the same philosophies, right? Because when you wanted a really big blogger a few years ago, what would you do? You'd send them product. and say, could you review my product? So we're doing the same thing with the influencers. We're getting product in their hands. But the secret to the sauce, they say it's a bit of science and a bit of art, is finding what's going to match and resonate with their users.
Right.
You can't take a bunch of gamblers on the big jackpot and sell them hand soap. We actually tried that yesterday. It failed miserably, but we kind of figured it would.
Well, I'm going to put a big disclaimer out to your listeners.
Yep.
What doesn't work is you can't just spam influencers with links and say, I've got the hottest payout and the best product and go ahead and support me. That never worked in affiliate marketing. It doesn't work in influencer.
Right.
And so you really have to cultivate the relationship with the influencer, and you've got to get them so that they authentically support the product. And with that authentic voice, whether it's through sending them product, giving them an experience, doing anything that really gets them on the team of the brand, that's really where it's at. So it is an art. I think you're right. It's really back to people skills. Remember those things that we all, relied on back in the day?
Used to do.
We got to influence the influencers.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So adding onto your warning, the big misnomer is people think that, if they got Kim Kardashian to promote their product, it'll be an instant success. Not really, because you might get a lot of sales, you might get a lot of exposure, but it's still, if you're not going after her key demographic and it's not resonating with her viewers, it's not going to be a good consumer.
And she risks alienating her followers, which makes her next campaign less effective.
Absolutely. And you're 100% right. The influencer has to buy in on the product. So we'll send our influencers different VIP packs from different products and say, what do you like? And let's go and let's promote that, as opposed to just being like, here, Matt, promote this Red Bull. Here you go. And but Kevin, I don't like Red Bull. No, promote it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Red Bull's a sponsor. No, I'm kidding. But because
I'm sponsored by Bears.
Yeah.
My sponsor is a bear.
There you go. Yeah, that paint by number set came out really good, by the way. I love it. I think I got to buy one of those too. That's really good. I've been admiring it.
You watch that guy on PBS every Saturday morning. You can do stuff like that.
Is that guy still on?
You talking about Bob Ross?
Yeah. No,
is that guy still on? Really?
No, he's not around. He's dead, but he's still on. Yeah.
He's still living way beyond, huh?
I have a pair of Bob Ross socks, by the way. It's a true story.
Wow.
That's a story for another day, though, Matt. And we want to thank you so much for your Affy Award. And people need to get in touch with it. Let's tell them what you can do for them and how to get in touch with you.
Sure. You can follow us at Smarter Chaos, of course, our corporate stuff. But if you want to follow me personally and see what I'm talking about and what I'm thinking, it's at Chief of Chaos on all the different channels, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere. Or you can just go to chiefofchaos.com.
Well, that sounds awesome. Listen, you got tons of stuff going on. Would you come back on the show at another time and party with us?
Absolutely. Every time.
That's so great.
Every time. Thanks so much, Matt.
Appreciate it, guys.
Well, ClickFather, we did another great show as well. And gosh, I'll tell you, it just seemed to keep getting better and better and better. And we keep promising people that, but you keep delivering, man. Good job.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, it's another great guest.
Yep, and we're going to keep more guests and more subjects, and remember, we've got those T-shirts that are going to be hot off the press here shortly. So send us your questions, send us your information, and hopefully we'll kind of answer your questions that we have. So once again, broadcasting from the campus of UNLV in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm the Big Fabu. I'm John Fondy. We'll see you on the next show. Thank you.